Okay, so I'm streaming again, guys. So there's so probably you are going to, yep. So I don't know what YouTube is going to do with if it's going to make one or two if I was quickly enough, or if it's going to be two different things. But you see here how dangerous it can be to change. Well, I don't know if that caused the crash, because it was more it seemed that it was more a YouTube thing, but well. Never do these things live. I should have done it on my other machine, but by doing it this way, yeah, you saw what happened. Hi, Tommy. So this were the 3 points I wanted to show you guys today. So I showed you the how to limit your vMix inputs. Then the data sources, the 3 shortcuts that exists at the moment. And now I showed you how to crash vMix. Now how you can send something to your audience in the whole, but your lower thirds, maybe not on the live stream. And that brings me, and John, you're going to be very happy that I'm going to be on time today. To my last point, and that is the future of the School of Live Streaming. It's not 100% sure what the future is going to be. What is sure, it's that I'm not going to do a weekly show anymore. Besides, the problem with my voice is, to be honest, I don't have enough content to do a weekly show. Sometimes you have too much content, but after I have done 15 or 20 shows, after my 15th show, it started what I'm going to talk about. And now, by coincidence, I found 2 interesting topics this week on the forum, but it doesn't happen every week. And as I told you before, I prefer to do not doing a show if I don't have any content, and just do it maybe every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's going to depend. How are you going to know when there is a show? Well, most of you guys are following me on Facebook. There is my newsletter. So this week I didn't send out a newsletter because I wasn't sure that this was going on. So in my newsletter, I'm going to announce if there is going to be a show. And the newsletter is only going to be sent out if there's maybe a show, but I'll see that. In theory, I'll try to do at least 1 show a month and probably 2 shows. So don't take it for granted, but probably it's going to be a bi-weekly show. So that gives me the chance to do the other week to work on my pre-recorded footage, because that's something else. I bought Camtasia and Snagit, and I'm preparing, in my holiday, I'm going to create a lot of pre-recorded footage, and I'm going to have a look at the same time at the chat. So what I'm going to do is do some pre-recorded stuff like the things I showed you, and I'm going to create some chapters and lessons, and I'm going to put it on my website. So I really need time for that, and when I know that I have a week off, I don't have to stress out to prepare all my next show. I can do my work on my pre-recorded footage, and who knows, because with the latest thing of YouTube, if I have a very interesting lesson, when I don't have a real live show, I can launch this this pre-recorded footage as it would have been. It looks like a real live show, but that depends. So that's the second thing, the pre-recorded footage, and from next year, so 2019, I'm going to work together with someone else. He's going to be my regular co-host, probably my bi-weekly co-host, and we're not going to talk only about the technical part of live streaming, but we're going to talk with people about live streaming. So we're going to interview other people, bring people together via live streaming. So that's something we are going to work on. And maybe if that really works out very well, we can do a weekly show if we have enough guests. So that's in very briefly what I think what the future going to be for the School of Live Streaming. Probably next year from NAB on, when vMix 22 is coming out, there is going to be a lot to talk about, in particularly the new titler designer, because that's going to be the main new thing in vMix 22. So yeah, when I have the beta, I'm going to play with it, and then I'm going to do a few lessons about it and all the other new stuff that's going to be in vMix 22. But it's also for me sometimes, and I discussed it with Martin Steed also, it's sometimes I want to speak about live stream, but not only about the technical part, not only about vMix, about problems I encountered maybe at work with doing the live stream, or if I saw a very interesting live stream, I want to talk about that live stream of just interview the guy. So not only talking about the technical part, I think there is already Tom shows. There is the World of Live Streaming, so SOLS, where they talk a lot also about technical stuff. I'm going to talk about technical stuff, but at the same time, I want to broaden the topics. So I hope that makes sense a little bit. So that's it more or less for me. I'm very pleased that I probably can have it under the 45 minutes marks, and I'm very curious what YouTube is going to do if I'm going to have two live recordings or not. By the way, the second part I didn't record, so yeah, then it's going to be 24A and 24B or something like that. But again, it shows what can go wrong. Okay, guys, that's it for me for today. So I'll stay a little bit and have a look at the chat to see if some interesting stuff or ideas, what I told you about the future that comes up. I certainly am going to do a 25th, because I'm finding that a good figure to end this year. I'm going to do a show, I'm not sure, or next week or in 2 weeks. It depends if there are enough topics. My voice for the moment, it's still working. I feel it a little bit, so we'll see. Probably next week or in 2 weeks, my next show. Thanks everyone for being here again. So 8 people are watching, well, 7 minus if I'm not counting myself. Thank you for being here again. And I stay, let's say, 5 more minutes or so I keep this thing going on. I have a look at the chat. Give your comments if it was an interesting show. All other comments about what happened or the future, and I'll bring up some of these chats again. Okay, and what I'm using today is well, let me put it up again. I still have an iPad 2, and this is my iPad 2, and I said, yeah, what I'm going to do with it, and it's very interesting. I'm just using it here for the social media. So it's vMix Social, and let me put this up. Oops, that is something I learned. So that's so a very interesting thing. So I still have a use for this iPad 2. I'm looking up in buying other stuff. Yeah, I have already something I can talk about. I bought a new toy, but let's see next week or in 2 weeks what that's going to be about. I cannot show it to you because it's only going to be delivered in the end of December. It's going to be something that I hope I can use for live stream, but I certainly can use it to do some footage outside with incredible results, to be honest. I'm having a look here at the unfortunate. I lost the first part of the chat here. I'm just only seeing the chat after the crash. Elmar is saying that. Yeah. Okay. Let's say. Oh yeah. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. Of course. What I'm seeing here, guys, is on the YouTube after the crash, I'm only seeing the chat from after the crash. But on my vMix social, it makes sense, but on my vMix social, I see all the comments, also those from before the crash. So that's interesting. To show it to you, I can show it. That's a comment from before the crash. So that's good to know that you still have all your comments in vMix social, but not on the YouTube chat. Stream Scotland is asking for Rudy in a Santa suit. Maybe. Never say never. So let me put this one up. Rudy in a Santa suit. Well, Santa is huge, and I'm not so. But maybe I'll do something special. It would, yeah, it could. Let's make it a fun show. That's for sure. What we're going to put in, that's something else. Elmar is saying you may have to activate your overlays for the stream again. Yeah. Stream Scotland, I'll dress at the Grinch. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, just to give you some insights for the rest, my smaller laptop is doing well. While there are only 2 inputs, you probably can hear the fan. It's the only thing I already told it to you. That's bothering me a lot. The moment I open vMix, the fan starts working. They don't start working, and it's a 1050 Ti in that laptop. The fans don't start when I'm using Office, but the moment I start vMix, even without an input, the fans are starting. And for the moment, my production machine, which has 10 inputs, no noise whatsoever of the fan. The fans are not working, so that's good. Martin. Oh. Now, oh, sorry, guys. Yes, of course, you're not seeing what I put up because, and is YouTube going to crash again? Well, if it's crash, thank you guys for being here. I'm not going to restart it all over again, but of course, I forgot to turn all my overlays on again. Okay. And now, is it going to crash again or not? So here is my. It can be a coincidence that it was a YouTube problem, but you see what is Elmar saying? And now, thanks guys. Yeah. Okay. What's going to be interesting in vMix 22 is I've seen some examples of what's going to be possible. Certainly in the two most expensive versions of vMix, because what you're going to get is the new title designer is for everyone, and they're going to give you some other animated titles. Those are for everyone, but you're in the two cheapest versions, you're not going to be able to create own animated titles. That's going to be only possible in the 4K version and the Pro version. But I've seen some incredible examples, like for instance a roster with the players coming up on the last vMix show. Tim showed the thing with the football players coming up this way in a card. So and it's maybe I'm interested in if I saw that there's still a connection with data sources, and yes, you know, I'm a big fan of data sources. By the way, this is something I want to tell you. During my absence, I worked for kind of an organization that was analyzing the midterm results in the United States. And I prepared everything for them in vMix. So, but the big problem was, of course, where can we get all this information? And how I ended up doing it is I'm also using data scraping. So what that's doing is you use a software. You go to the website. In this case, I was going to the site of CNN, because they had the best, I think the most interesting website to take the results. So I did some programming mojo. So what that was every result for the two chambers came immediately in Excel. It was hundreds and hundreds of lines. And then Excel was, of course, used as a data source in vMix. And they showed on a big screen, well, the big lines, what was going on in certain states. And it doesn't have... I'm going to do maybe something, show you data sources. I'm not going to do it live in my show because it's too tricky. I'm going to do a pre-recorded stuff. So to cut a long story short, if you have a website and there is some data in it, you can take automatically that data out and put in an Excel sheet. And then instead of typing all data over, you just scrape it. It's something I'll show it to you. It's Elmar is saying, let me put that up. It's well, it's Elmar. It's not it's not that crazy of a question. It's not stealing data because the data is there on the internet. You just reuse it. You don't steal it. And now this was CNN, but for instance in Belgium and probably also in Germany, there are some websites from the government with open data, and there is a lot of data. And instead of saying, yeah, you can download this data, no, the data is there, but you cannot save it. And instead then of typing everything over, you just do some data scraping and everything is in an Excel. So that's how you can make things a lot easier with data sources. Okay, I think this was all I wanted to tell you guys. Yeah, in fact, I know that there is that they have a known kingdom in Scotland and a known army. Oh yes, John, it's going to be in. But yeah, you weren't really a football fan, I think. And we need to play Scotland for the Europeans qualifications of the Europeans. We play Scotland and Russia, and then a few strange countries like Azerbaijan and stuff like that. Okay. Again, thank you guys for staying so long. I'm going to keep it under the hour, so Johnny can go to sleep happily. Thanks again, and I hope to see you next week or in 2 weeks, probably. See you then. Bye-bye.